Good morning, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you might be doing. We wish to welcome you to the Silverlight Show. The Silverlight shines to illuminate that which lies hidden in darkness. For those of you tuning in today, we welcome you in. You know, I've had a couple years to think about this, just like everybody else, and I honestly don't see a way Ukraine can win the war. Now hold on. I'm not predicting a Russian victory here either. Believe me, respect for the soldiers on both lines that are fighting through some pretty awful conditions at the present time. And, you know, the people are behind their respective groups. It's not about bravery, not about courage. It's down to simple economics. Now, for the past while, the Western, educated, industrialized, rich, democratic nations have been donating all sorts of stuff. You've got surface-to-air missiles, you got airplanes, you have all that sort of stuff. Now, when I use the word donation, it's a fabrication. It comes across looking as though, oh, we're giving this to you for free, but all debts must be repaid. A good example of this is Britain. Britain paid off its World War II debt in 2008. Even with Lend-Lease, even with the United States having given them a whole bunch of stuff, it took them 40, 50, no, 60 years to pay that down. They still haven't paid their World War I debt, and they still have debts lingering over them from 1780. And there's a big difference between Britain and Ukraine. Again, this is not a slight on the people, their courage, or their determination. It's simple fact. Britain has and always will be somewhat of a world power. At least in that second rank. Maybe not first rank like the United States, but they're definitely in the second rank. The problem is, knocking on Ukraine's door is another second-rate power. They have a lot of nukes, they got a lot of equipment that are just left over. So now that the Western nations are not donating so many supplies, how exactly does Ukraine stand a chance against the Russian war machine? They've been creative, they've been innovative. They have a new tactic where they fly a whole bunch of drones into like a place, a garage for tanks where they're being fixed up, and they're suicide drones. They just click the button and boom, the whole thing goes up. Ingenious. It costs them maybe $6,000 to take out millions of dollars of Russian equipment. So again, this is not about Ukraine. Simple economics. Ukraine does have a debt. They're not only begging for stuff to be delivered, they're throwing their money around left, right, and center. Hey, can you help us out? Can you give us some ammunition, some, guns, some steel, something that we can make a stand with? And there does seem to be some fatigue in the Western world about these donations. Canada has some large bombs that were being retired, and Ukraine was begging for them, and it took Canada a while to realize, oh, we can just put this on a shipping container and send it over there. But the United States is not supplying them with the new Patriot missiles, and they're even Block 2 Patriots. These are not the Block 3s or the Block 4s. So it looks like sooner or later Ukraine is going to have to pay its bill. Like I said, World War II, Britain could defer it till 2008. So from 1939 to 2008. Try and get a credit limit that long. No bank will give it to you. But they're a nation state, so they can do it. Britain exports a lot of quality goods. They're known for their Rolls Royces, which is actually owned by an Indian company, but that's beside the point. They're known for chocolates and their beers and stuff like that. They have products to offer the rest of the world. What does Ukraine really have? Not much. They have wheat, which they sell primarily to African countries. And please, no offense to any Africans in my audience, but Africa is not known for being rich and having lots of money to spare, so probably at cut down prices. Sunflower seeds. Yes, the Slavic people love their sunflower seeds. Sunflower oil goes all over the world. But I'm going to ask you a question. How many sunflower seeds to buy a jet plane, to buy an armored fighting vehicle, to buy 50 caliber ammunition? That's the exchange that you have to look at. It's exchange that Russia can make because they have so many factories and natural resources. They can make their own. Not as good as when they can import stuff, but they can do it. Ukraine used to have that facility, but basically when the Soviets pulled out, they took a lot of it with them. And that's where I feel Ukraine is going to lose. They've been back and forth across that entire country, and Russia has never said that's our goal. Ukraine has never said that's our goal. It's a war of annihilation. If we're going to put that up, Russia has every advantage possible. They have more human resources. They have more physical resources. They have more factories. They have effectively a dictator who's not going to say no until he gets whatever he wants. And I'm afraid what he wants is now the utter annihilation of Ukraine. I think it started as just pushing them around, but their stubborn resistance made it so that he needs to set an example. And without complete victory, the Russian president, or is he prime minister this week? It's so hard to tell what what Putin has decided that he is this week. And it's tough to remain optimistic about Ukraine. Well, stuff does happen. War is a fool's errand. War is a continuation of politics by any other means. And Ukraine started in a bad position, but they've succeeded beyond anybody's wildest dreams. I figured this would be over in a year, and now Russia's talking about extending into the year 2025. And this is where, okay, let's pretend I have a scenario here. Let's put this in our minds. Ukraine wins. Something happens and they're able to deliver a knockout blow, and Russia agrees to back off. Ukraine has two problems: paying back everybody what they owe them and rearming at the same time, because the Russians will be back. Look at Afghanistan. The Russians lost countless people and equipment in there. And, well, the Soviets, they got their nose bloody and they only pulled out when it was economically impossible for them to continue. The United States pulled out because it was politically inconvenient for them to continue. In Afghanistan, no offense to any Afghanis out there, but Afghanistan does not have the infrastructure to produce war machines of any appreciable value. They would only get what was given to them. That was the Taliban at one point. Remember the Taliban? In The Living Daylights, one of James Bond's adventures, they were portrayed as the good guys. And it wasn't too many years later when we're going in and trying to remove them. Ukraine still has their reputation as the good guys. And maybe they're going to have to make some sort of an overture. Maybe they're going to have to make a trade because, like I said, when this all ends, ultimately, they're going to owe a whack load of money. Just an astonishing amount. And they still need to maintain their armed presence because Russia will be looking over the fence. So a peaceful Ukraine is just not sustainable, possibly even with NATO presence, since there's rumblings from the Republican part of the United States that they don't want anything to do with Ukraine. That would leave them in a bad situation. How many sunflower seeds for a rocket launcher? This is real math that the Ukrainian people are going to have to do if they win. So even if they win, economically, they're no further ahead. And that's a sad thing to admit for so many brave people who drove trucks into Ukraine, who donated fighters to Ukraine, tanks to Ukraine, all this sort of stuff has gone on, and it's a no-win situation. It's a Hobson's choice. Now, what happens next on the world stage will be very interesting. But I'm afraid it won't fill anybody's hearts with patriotic fervor. It'll just be, that happened. It'll be a footnote in our children's textbooks. And perhaps if you're an ethnic Ukrainian, it might mark a personal journey where you decide to leave the country, or your grandparents did. If anybody's listening to this that far in the future. But yeah, sadly, no matter which way this one goes, it's just not going to favor the Ukrainians being viable long term. They'll have to join up with somebody, and not a lot of people are really willing to take that risk. Sorry for the depressing episode, but it's something I think needs to be addressed. With that, we hope you enjoyed this episode of the Silverlight Show. If you did, like, share, because sharing is caring. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. Don't forget to click the bell icon down below so that way you can be notified every single time there's a new episode. And we hope you have a fantastic day.